Jujutsu Kaisen's first home console game was Jujutsu Kaisen Cursed Clash, and it was not good. It died quickly after launch and supposedly set a new record for the most refunded game in the shortest amount of time on Steam. Clearly, Cursed Clash is not the Jujutsu Kaisen game that people want. So what would the Jujutsu Kaisen game that people actually want look like? I'm here to theorize just that. What a home console Jujutsu Kaisen game would look, feel, and play like that would also please more people than Cursed Clash did. So, let's get started. The most important topic to cover first is gameplay. How's this game going to play? Cursed Clash decided to go with the generic, low budget, lazy, repetitive, dull, lackadaisical, overdone, and unoriginal genre of 3D arena fighters, which we will not go with. Since this is such an important part of the game, I leave a decision up to the people. I made a poll where viewers could vote on what genre a Jujutsu Kaisen game should be between a 3D arena fighter, a 2D fighter, an action RPG, or a battle royale, and a 2D fighter won with 48% of the votes. If we were to go with a 2D fighter, then the best choice for developers would hands down be Arc System Works. They did Dragon Ball FighterZ, so we can trust them with Jujutsu Kaisen. The game would be similar to most Arc System Works 2D fighters, with an opportunity for 3v3 fights. In terms of how the actual gameplay would feel, it would be similar to games like Marvel vs. Capcom and Dragon Ball FighterZ, and focus on fast movement and long combos. In terms of any additional mechanics, your meter would be referred to as a cursed energy meter. There would also be domain expansions, which, when opened, would transform the stage and give a user a boost in their stats. However, there would be counters to this, such as Simple Domain and Hollow Wicker Basket. Cursed Clash implemented a mechanic where the only attacks that actually dealt damage were specific cursed energy attacks. This was supposed to reflect the fact that in the series you must kill a curse with cursed energy. However, this mechanic always felt kinda weird to me because the sorcerers in the series always imbue their attacks with cursed energy anyways, so this mechanic would not make it into this game. Speaking of sorcerers, which ones would be in the game? The character roster is one of the most important aspects of any fighting game, so let's cover who I think would make it into this hypothetical game. I went with a base roster of 21 characters, as that's the amount of characters in the base roster of Dragon Ball FighterZ, which is a main reference for this concept. I'll also cover 2 hypothetical DLC packs, each with 7 characters, as Fighter's first pack hit 8 and its second had 6. Our base roster would consist of the obvious main cast: Yuji Itadori, Megumi Fushiguro, Nobara Kugisaki, and Gojo Satoru. I also included the main villains, along with all of the disaster curses: Ryomen Sukuna, Suguru Geto, Joe Goat, Hanami, Mahito, and Dagon. Geto is specifically Pseudo Geto, and Dagon is their true form. We have the second year students introduced in Season 1, Maki Zenin, Panda, and Toge Unumaki. I also included Yuta Okatsu, as he was introduced in the Jujutsu Kaisen 0 film. However, his appearance would be reminiscent of his manga appearance. I chose to include 3 Kyoto students based on relevant fights and moveset potential, those being Aototo, Noritoshi Kamo, and Kokishi Muta, aka Mechamaru, who would specifically be his healed form and would have him piloting his mech, just shrunken down to fit the stage. I had nowhere else to put him, but Kento Nanami would also be playable. This game's story mode would cover through Season 2, which means we'll have characters from the Hidden Inventory arc, as well as the Shibuya Incident arc. There aren't too many characters from Hidden Inventory, aside from the obvious being Toji Fushiguro. In order to cover the rest of the arc, Young Gojo and Young Geto skins will be available in-game, rather than wasting 2 character slots on the younger versions. We only have 2 more base roster slots available to cover Shibuya, and for those I chose Naobito Zenin and Chozo. Naobito because the Zenin clan as a whole is relevant to the story, his curse technique will make for an interesting character, and so we can probably cover the Dagon fight. I also chose Chozo because of his relevance to Yuji's character, as well as the important Chozo vs Yuji fight. And in terms of DLC, our first DLC pack would include 7 characters and would focus on including lesser important characters from the first 2 seasons of the anime that couldn't make it into the base roster. Our first 3 characters will be covering the rest of the Kyoto students: Mai Zenin, Momo Nichimiya, and Kasui Miwa. I didn't think they were relevant enough for the base roster, but I still think it's important to include all the students in-game. The remaining 4 characters are relevant to the Shibuya arc: Meimei, Uriume, Atsuya Kusakabe, and Takama Ino. They all don't play the largest roles in the arc, but are relevant enough to the story and displayed enough abilities to warrant their inclusion. The second and final DLC pack will include 8 characters. Yes, I am adding 1 more because I couldn't make up my mind, and would hypothetically release to coincide with Season 3 of the anime, which would hypothetically cover the Culling Games arc. I'll briefly mention new characters from this arc, but won't delve into any spoilers. Those 8 characters are Hiromi Higuruma, Reggie Star, Fumihiko Takaba, Kinji Hikari, Hajime Kashimo, Naoya Zenin, Ryu Ishigori, and Takako Uro. All of them have relevant fights and have a whole assortment of abilities that can inspire movesets. Throughout this roster, I briefly mentioned story mode, so let's mention story mode some more. Like I mentioned before, the story mode will cover through Season 2, meaning up and through the Shibuya arc. The second DLC pack would include characters from the Culling Game arc, but the story will not reach that arc. We know that arc system works can animate beautiful looking cutscenes, so we'd expect to see those in this game. I also think it would be cool if we could get quick time events similar to the Storm series developed by CyberConnect 2. However, I would also like to make sure that the story mode isn't just a series of regular matches over and over. To switch things up, there would be occasional boss battles with characters who either just aren't in the base roster, or it features some sort of stage gimmick or effect. For example, the Grasshopper Curse wouldn't be in the base roster, but would still be a fight. Dagon is in the base roster, but there could be some stage mechanics when fighting them in their domain. I would also include some platforming sections and some side-scrolling sections. For example, it could be a side-scrolling section that functions like a brawler, where you make your way through Shibuya, fighting transfigured humans as Nanami, just for it to turn out that you can't actually win and you're meant to lose. There could also be a side-scrolling segment where you play as Megami being chased by Toji, and you have to try and run away. My point is, do something to switch up the generic flow of the game. It'll get boring if it's just regular matches over and over, especially when we already know how the story plays out. That's why you need something to get people to replay the story, and I think well-animated cutscenes, coupled with unique fights and stages that switch up the regular gameplay, would be able to accomplish that. And that's going to be it for this game concept. I really do hope that we can get a new Jujutsu Kaisen game soon, one that's actually good this time around. Even if it isn't a 2D fighting game, I'll take what I can get. But honestly, I don't think we'll be getting any new JJK games soon, especially considering Cursed Clash is desperately trying to win back fans with their recent and upcoming DLC. The only remaining question is, will I go back to Cursed Clash for the DLC? Nah,